Our next speaker is Katie Cassidy. She represents the Water Resources Science graduate program, and she is joining us from the Duluth campus.
Winter is coming, and with it comes a whole lot of salt. Every year, approximately 20 million tons of salt is applied to US roads to keep drivers safe from ice and accidents in the winter. This salt, sodium chloride, does not degrade, resulting in an increase in the salinity of our fresh water that will only continue unless we find an alternative. Enter potassium acetate. Potassium acetate is an alternative liquid deicer. It's organic, which means it's biodegradable. It's also less corrosive and works at lower temperatures than sodium chloride. So you're probably thinking, sounds great, what's the catch? Well, that's where my research comes in. We know that potassium acetate is an effective deicer, but we don't know the environmental impact of applying it on roads where road runoff ends up in the storm drains and the storm water is deposited in downstream water bodies. So my research seeks to answer the threefold question: what is the environmental impact of potassium acetate application to 1, aquatic life? Will the concentration of potassium and acetate in the downstream water body reach toxic levels? 2, microbiology. The organic nature of acetate means that aquatic bacteria break it down, but in the process consume oxygen. So will we see depleted oxygen in our downstream water bodies? And 3, vegetative toxicity. Will the spray of the deicer off of the road affect roadside grasses? In order to answer these questions, I spent the past 2 years conducting a field study in Duluth where I collected stormwater samples from roads where potassium acetate was applied and lake samples from the lake where the stormwater was draining into. I brought these samples back to the lab for a general water chemistry analysis and found that the concentration of potassium and acetate did not reach toxic levels in our water body. I also did a test that measures the amount of oxygen consumed by microbes while they're breaking down that acetate, and found that while this oxygen demand is extremely high, we don't actually see depleted oxygen in our water body because of dilution and mixing. Finally, in order to understand the impacts of the deicer to vegetative toxicity, I conducted a seed germination experiment where I germinated grass seeds in a range of salinities and found that seed germination is more sensitive to potassium acetate than it is to sodium chloride, but the concentration of potassium acetate at which we start to see impacts to germination is fairly high and not often seen in roadside soils. The findings of this research will inform transportation agencies as they make salting decisions, as we search for a way to reduce chloride to protect our freshwater resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.